Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of r/slash entitled people. In today's episode, I refused service to her son. Now she's taking it further. I met my first IRL Karen. Karen messed with the wrong woman. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I refused service to her son. Now she's taking it further. I'm a 24 years old bar manager in a fairly new bar. Coming into my shift on a Friday afternoon, I was warned by another coworker about a guy who may need cutting off and was too drunk. He then proceeded to stumble to the bar, swaying, slurring his words, requesting some drinks off me. I explained that I wasn't comfortable serving him anymore and may need to leave. That's when he called Karen, the hair, the attitude, the entitlement, all in one person. She storms over to the bar, this 50-odd-year-old woman requesting the manager, to which unfortunately is me. She stood in my face pointing. My son is not drunk. I told her that we were not comfortable serving her son anymore as he was too drunk. Now in a pub, there is someone for every situation. Fire alarm goes off, you've got firefighters in, giving advice. Someone is having a seizure, they help their friend through one so they know better. You've got water coming through the ceiling, they are a plumber. This Karen was a bar manager. For 30 years, she thinks I shouldn't cut her son off, demanding where our point system is. For a moment, I completely forget whether I'm in school or not. Point system? She responded with, he's not done drugs. Okay, good start. He's not broken a glass. Sometimes accidents happen. He not started a fight. Okay, so how people should behave in a pub brill. But he's still too pissed, and we've got the right to refusal. Now in the UK, in order to get an alcohol license, you have to take an exam. In that exam, I had never heard of this point system before. I've heard of 5 licensing objectives, and cutting someone off before getting too drunk is following the objectives. Then started demanding a piece of paper to write a 3-page complaint on how she wasn't given a reason. Also emailed the brewery how I treated her son unfairly and that I was in the wrong. She then proceeded threatening me about Steve. I will tell Steve about this, and he will never step foot in this pub again. Now this family must have been pure royalty. Celebrities, basically. And I didn't get the memo. Because who is Steve? Anyway, Steve still drinks with us and is absolutely lovely. As a parent myself, I cannot imagine going into any place on behalf of my of-age child. They're grown up and can handle their business themselves. That's because you didn't get your helicopter license. It doesn't matter if he's drunk or not. All licensed premises can refuse entry for service for any reason. I felt like it is a valid reason. You did well not to laugh in her face. I've been cut off exactly once in my life, and I was stone cold sober. Don't know what the bartender's reasoning was, but I wasn't dumb enough to argue. Just went to the place next door. Arguing with a bartender about your level of inebriation usually just confirms their point. I worked in a bar for many years. I've cut the owner off more than once. When he would gripe, "It's my bar," I'd remind him it is indeed, and if he didn't want to lose the license to it and have a place to drink next week, he should go home. No further argument from him. It's been a while, but aren't bar staff obliged to refuse service to someone they believe is already drunk? Anyway, Steve says it's a great gaffe. No mistake. The only legitimate possibility is if the son has a neurological issue. I have a friend with CP that has slurred speech and balance issues. The weird thing is he walks a straight line when he's drunk. Many of his issues disappear when alcohol is applied. I met my first IRL Karen. I was at a national park with my GF, and we were resting at a great spot that had amazing views. We were sitting down for a few minutes when a group of about 5 people come up and stop to take pictures. We were about 70% out of the way of the best spot, and I hear, "Let's just wait until these people move." I know she's talking about us, so I scoot back a little to accommodate. No big deal. While standing about 2 feet from us, she just keeps talking about us like we're not even there. Well, if they'd move, we have a much better picture. They want to be rude and inconsiderate to everyone else, and that was the one that got a response out of me. I calmly and simply said we're just taking in the views and relaxing. She responds, "This is a great spot for photos, and you're ruining it for people who want their picture here." I told her the trail is out and back and not a loop if they want to take one on the way back, and she tells us, "We will just wait for you to be done being selfish with the spot." So I tell her to be patient or shut up and move on. I was getting a little upset. My rest and views were bothered by this early 50s lady was just so upfront and rude and couldn't even address us. By now there was about 10 people standing around, taking pictures and also watching this lady get pretty heated. I finally stand up and tell her if she asked politely for us to move initially, I would have been more accommodating, but calling us rude and selfish behind our back with us within earshot was not the civil way to handle it. What Karen didn't know was I kept taking glances at her near the end, made the kill shot observation, and as she said, kept talking about us being rude. I said, "Your attitude has been insufferable, and I can guess that's probably why there's no ring on your finger." I really need to thank Reddit, as this line was mentioned in an Reddit thread. What's an insult that doesn't call names or use profanity? It went perfectly. Her face was as if someone had never stood up to her shit before. You could see it go through her, and the realization forced one move, and all she could do was slump and look down at the ground. One of her friends said that was too far, and maybe they're right, but I ended it with, all I did was make a logical conclusion based on an obvious observation. The others with and without her were pretty great. A few laughed. One guy said, "Oh shit." Hopefully this prevents her from being an insufferable C***T to people in the future. Did you get into trouble for starting a wildfire with that burn? Haha, thankfully not. I overheard ointment as we walked away, and I'm just praying they used it in that context. For once, I am not being sarcastic, sir. I stand up and applaud you. This was just beautiful. Thanks. So many years of practicing what I'd say to someone with all my internal monologues, and I finally got the chance, haha. I was at a Walmart in the cigarette checkout with a buggy full of groceries. I noticed a woman and a man get in line behind me with much less stuff. Just as I was about to tell them to go ahead of me, I saw her giving me a dirty look. So I told her, I was going to let you go ahead, but since you want to give me dirty looks, you can wait. And she fumed as she waited for the cashier to do my gift cards, which he had trouble with, so took even longer, while he slowly bagged up my stuff. It was great. Seriously, it's not hard to just be nice to people. Just being nice and respectful to the people you interact with makes them feel good and want to be nice to you in return. And of course, if someone is giving dirty looks because they are somehow inconvenienced by other people simply existing, they don't deserve the kindness. Karma is interesting like that. I get where you were coming from, trying to not be profane but still make a good point. However, not every woman wants a ring on their finger, so there's no good reason to assume that shot would hit home despite your success that time. Going all in, she's not a widow. Karen messed with the wrong woman. This happened in November, but after years of just reading, I figured I'd put my own on. Out of the blue, my healthy, hardworking husband, M, 41, had a stroke. We were just chatting one night and then, wham, our lives changed in the blink of an eye. An ambulance was called. We went to A&E and I spent a horrific night wondering whether my husband was coming home again. He was put on the stroke ward, and for the first 2 days, I was back and forward to the hospital constantly. It is not close to my house, so when I was unable to be there due to visiting hours, him having tests, etc., I would go to a coffee shop not far from the hospital and much closer than my house. I also chose that place as I know the staff. I work for myself, so I would take my laptop or my book and kill time until I could go back to the hospital. The longest I was ever there was maybe an hour and a half. Enter Karen and her browbeaten husband. I was trying to answer some emails and was letting people know what had happened when I heard it. You are so selfish sitting there when other people are in the queue. I looked up, not sure who she was talking to, but it was me. Now I know that people table hogging is annoying, but 1. There were quite a few empty tables, and 2. There were people who had been there before I got there. She didn't wait for a reply, just huffed her way out of the door muttering about how I was selfish and she had seen me there yesterday. I don't think she expected me to follow her, but I did. I was tired, worried about my husband, and mad as hell she didn't have the balls to say it to my face and stick around. Like I said, she picked the wrong time and the wrong woman. I asked her to repeat what she said to my face. I said yes, I was sitting on my laptop, but the staff knew I was there waiting to go back to the hospital as my husband had just had a stroke, and it was close to the hospital for me in case there was an emergency, and I still needed to work, so I was doing what I needed to do, and maybe she should mind her own business, or at least have RHE common decency to say it to my face. I maybe should not have called her a geriatric old cowbag, but I did. She kinda screamed at me, "I'm only 53, and I replied, "Yikes, you're only just older than me. You must have had a hard life. I'm sorry about that."
I'm 48.
She stormed off, and when I went back into the coffee shop, my friend told me she was a pain in the ass for harassing some of the students who came to work, big university town, and she always got a takeaway coffee anyway. I was the first one to stand up to her. I think her mistake was thinking I'd take it, but she messed up, as one of the benefits of being Gen X is we don't give a crap anymore, and she should have known better. I do feel bad for commenting on how she looked, as I believe we should all age gracefully, but she deserved everything else. You make the rest of us Gen X aging disgracefully. Ladies proud. Age is just a number after all, and to be honest, getting older is better than the alternative. I'm going to be rocking every line and wrinkle. I earned them, haha. I hope your husband is doing better. Good job putting that geriatric old cowbag in her place. It's a long process, but we will get there. Thankfully, it didn't change who he is, so he is working on getting his strength back with physio and stuff. 52F here. Karen was also Gen X, so should have known better. And now I need to figure out how I can work geriatric cowbag into my conversations. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.